semester, the time that we spend throughout the week, there are sufficient contact sessions for us online and on campus from next week, hopefully. If I was on campus this morning, everything seems fine. But if thanks for joining, Jolise. To summarize what we've done in the week and highlight specific issues and make it a interactive session where we address issues, and at least for the next 6 weeks until you submit your assignments, about your progress on the assignments, challenges that you have with your assignment, maybe just to check in and see if everybody is on the right track. So I know that everybody is already in a downward spiral and unwinding for the weekend. So I'm going to, for the rest of the semester, not start any new work if it's absolutely necessary on a Friday, and rather just use this one-off session, because most of our sessions during the week are sort of back-to-back sessions, to use this session as a sort of a summary for the week, if it's okay with you. Anybody have a problem with that? Just a more relaxed discussion and conversation more than anything else, and as opposed to me just lecturing on a specific topic. And that's why what you see on the screen are the revision questions that was posted yesterday, and that we ended off with yesterday, on chapter 1 and 2, basically. Just to get an idea if we understand the most important concepts of the chapter or chapters that we have covered in a particular week, and we'll continue with that for the rest of the semester. You all good with that? Sounds like a plan? Thank you very much, Larissa. Feedback, Corinne, Larissa, on textbook edition 10, edition 11. I received feedback during the course of the morning from our librarian. She copied me in on the replies that they received from a publisher, Pearson. And Lilio, thanks for joining. And the feedback that I can give you is that, and they basically gave me the content of both these editions. Content-wise, I cannot find any distinctive differences. Maybe the page numbers are different. Maybe the case study is slightly different. I tend to not use the case studies in the textbook anyway. Between edition 10 and 11, the case studies are still relevant to the concepts that's discussed. It might just be more relatable for students than maybe a previous edition. The previous edition was 2015. This was the 11th edition is a 2019 edition. I can also see some cosmetic differences, just how they structured the layout of the textbook. But long and short of it is, if you have access to a cheaper version of edition 11 of the textbook that's prescribed, in other words, in the form of edition 10, it's not going to be a problem at all. You will still, the work is still the same, the chapters are still the same, the concepts covered are still the same, the number of chapters are the same, and yeah, it was just an update, I think, with a few cosmetic changes and some case study updates more than anything else. The content is exactly the same, so yeah, you can use edition 10 as well as a textbook, if that answers the question that was posed on Wednesday. Okay, everybody good with that?
Thank you, sir.
No problem at all. I'm going to try and get my hands on a electronic version of edition 11 anyway from the publisher, and then make it available to you. Okay, so it just helps. But at the end of the day, you know, you're not going to, yeah, I know. My entire first year at varsity, I'm not going to say when it was, including my accommodation, my textbook, as well as my course fees was 5,000 rand. So I can understand that even in the context of even in the modern context, the amount that you've mentioned, the price that you've mentioned for this particular textbook is yeah, it's tough, it's difficult, it's expensive.
Sorry to interrupt, but I can actually like I can buy the latest version also. Like I got hold of it, but
Yeah.
then it will be a little more expensive for everyone. But like by like 30 rand or something.
Larissa, offer it's open invitation. I'm pretty sure you've informed the rest of the group about this as well. It's a collective decision that you guys have to make. I'm not going to put anybody under any pressure. I'm going to try my best rather to ensure that the content of the slides is sufficient to cover the differences that there might be, as minor as they are between edition 10 and 11. But I also know that the methodology that many students follow when they prepare for assessments is that they would like to have a form of a textbook, ebook format, PDF format, or hard copy available to support their own notes that they make in conjunction with the or in line with the slides that they receive. So it's a decision I'm going to leave up to you guys to do and negotiate amongst yourselves how you want to pursue it from here on. But you're not going to be disadvantaged if you use edition 10. If you maybe have a hard copy lying around, or you can get a hard copy at a giveaway price from maybe a previous student. But if you can actually get your hands on edition 11, that will also be fine if it's fine with the rest of the group. I'm not going to get involved in that at all, but you're more than welcome to pursue that. And thanks very much for that. Right, so we don't know what the lotto numbers are or the Powerball numbers are for this evening. Also not what's going to happen in the Premier League. If South Africa is going to beat Argentina on the rugby field on the weekend. If it's actually going to snow in the Drakensberg for those who are in the close vicinity and might want to go there for a breakaway weekend. Regardless of what your plans are for the weekend, I think just to summarize and to end this week, let's use the questions that we have on the screen as a sort of a discussion. I want to just have it as an open discussion to everybody to see that we have the important concepts that was discussed this week, although it is an introduction to this module, that we have that covered. Question 1 basically says that you have to explain the 6 characteristics of modern selling. Anybody have to have a crack at that? Let's discuss it. It's totally informal. I don't expect model answers. I don't want you to repeat what's in the module. I just want you, if I now put a gun to your head and said, listen, what are the 6 characteristics of modern selling? I mean, would you be able to do that? Do you feel comfortable with a question like that? How would you answer a question like that? Obviously, I know that you have access to all different resources, including your slides from the weekend to answer that question. But what would you say are those 6 characteristics? And let's just briefly embroider on each of them. Anybody who's going to have a crack at it? Let me rather rephrase that or add to that with follow the question with another question. What's the most important thing in sales? What's the objective of a salesperson? Let's do a quick scan of our notes while I quickly tick you off on the attendance register. What's the objective of a sale? When you're approaching a potential customer, a prospect for that matter, what do you want to achieve from that exercise? Anybody? Guys, are you alive?
Hi, sir.
Hi, Lily. How are you doing?
Good yourself, sir.
Good.
So, firstly, I think is making the sale itself and then satisfying the needs of your customer.
Yes, because your objective is to close the sale in a manner in which the customer is satisfied. In other words, they're not buying something that they don't need or that they cannot afford, but something that actually satisfies a particular need or resolve a specific problem. Because if that's the case, they will see that there's value in that transaction. If it's valuable to them, and if it's done in a professional manner, they will return. And that's one of the first objectives and the major objective, in my opinion, for any particular sale. To complete the sale in such a manner that the customer's need is satisfied, that the customer is also happy in the way in which it was done, and as a result of that, the customer will return, because that's your objective from a sales point of view. You want to be satisfied. Put yourself in, and I always say, if you are in sales, the best way of judging if you are selling successfully, I'm not talking about making your sales targets. I'm talking about selling successfully. In other words, satisfying the customer's need. Put yourself as a salesperson in the shoes of the customer. How would you how would you want it to be treated as a customer? Would you be happy with a product that you are going to use once and then chuck it in a box and store it in the garage? So not really having a need for it, but you bought into an impressive sales pitch. That's not the intention of anybody in sales. You want to satisfy the customer to the level where their problem is solved, done in such a manner that they will return and buy from you again, and eventually become a loyal supporter of your product or your brand or your company. That's the first characteristic, customer retention. Obviously, if the customer is not happy, and that's part of your follow-up, the function of following up on how the customer has experienced the particular transaction, you will delete those individuals, remove them from your database if they are not going to purchase from you again, if they're not interested. And also, when you follow up with customers and they indicate that they're not satisfied or they were not satisfied with the manner that you have conducted the previous sale with them, or the benefits that they gained from or the lack of benefits from the particular transaction. Use that information to improve your next sale, to ensure that you learn from the feedback that the customers are giving you, because that's free advice. It can cost you thousands and thousands of rands of marketing research to determine that. Where you have the customer that can just tell you, you know what, I felt, you know what, you were so obnoxious and you were so pushy that I just wanted to get rid of you, and that's why I said yes. I didn't really need the product. Okay, then you know, ooh, I need to change my approach. Secondly, database management. You have to be very knowledgeable, not just about your product, but also about consumers and how they behave and how they make their decisions. Updating the information on your database as frequently as possible to ensure that you have the most current information, and that you do not phone a customer like some particular company who I bought a vehicle from 7 years ago and sold 3 years later, or traded 3 years later, still phoning me and said, "Sir, I mean, your vehicle is due for a service." I don't have that vehicle. I haven't had that vehicle for the last 3 years. So somebody somewhere did not update the database correctly, or at all for that matter. What we've also identified during week 1 is that the different management orientations or philosophies towards how they conduct their business is also important for the sales individual, because it is currently focused more on customer relationship and forming a long-term relationship with your customers. To ensure that 20% of the customers that's responsible for 80% of your turnover, that they are taken care of. But in general, also the whole approach towards your selling is not one of, okay, this is the product, this is the benefits, do you want it or not? No, it's more a question of what would satisfy you, customer, and if we don't have it, maybe we can actually use the information to design a product that will satisfy your needs, and that's what the customer or marketing oriented approach is all about. So it's about establishing relationships, because that will result in retention and loyal customers as well. You have to be very knowledgeable about the product, but you also have to have the ability to be able to sell that product. You can't just say, "But are you serious? Why wouldn't you want a product like this?" It might not be a product that's relevant, or that is a necessity for that customer at that point, and as a result of that, they don't see any value in that transaction. So you need to be able to still market the product by knowing the features of the product and the advantages that that product will offer the customer, and the benefits that they will gain from actually buying that product from you or not. In other words, a product in line with solving a problem that the customer have, because that will make you a hero in their eyes. Because if you can solve a problem, if you can relieve any stress that they have by the product or service that you offer, they are going to be committed to the sale, and definitely return in future as well. Are you adding value to the customer's situation? That's the question I think that any salesperson should ask themselves before they make that sale. Are you going to walk away this evening and feel proud of the decisions that you've made? Or are you going to feel guilty and say, "Oh, geez, maybe I know that person can't really afford that product, I don't really need it, but at least I made the sale and I made my targets." It's a very fine line, and I know that the majority, the bad rap, the reputation that we currently that exists about salespeople is purely based on exactly that fact, that that traditional salespeople were just too concerned about making targets and not focusing on the manner in which they conduct their sales. There's a scene in the movie which I think that all of us, if you haven't seen it, and if you have, watched it again and again and again, we're probably going to watch it 5 or 6 times during the course of this semester. And I would like to base a lot of case studies on that as well, is because The Wolf of Wall Street is one of those movies that, especially for people studying sales, and in our case, sales and operations, is such a valuable experience, because there's so many very appropriate examples of how to sell successfully and what to avoid and what mistakes not to make. There's a specific scene where somebody, Leonardo DiCaprio's wife to be actually asked him, well, I'm not sure if they were married at that stage in the movie already, says to him, but does the customer really need this? And he was like, so what do you mean? It's not about that. It's about reaching the target. It's about making the sale. It's not just about that. If your intention and objective as a business is to ensure that the customer is satisfied, and if you want them to be converted to loyal customers, then you'll change your approach to be a more customer-centered one. Right, 3 types of selling. Anybody? Any assistance I can get from you? Well, let me rather tell you what the 3 types are, and then you actually can give me examples, and so I can understand see if you understand the concept. We are referring to order takers, order creators, and order getters. Those are the 3 types of selling. Order takers. Who are order takers? What are order takers? They're all sales related functions. Give an example of an order taker.
So can this be like restaurants?
Yes, order
like
takers
you request what you want to buy, and then they say yes, we have it, or no.
Correct. Yes, Larissa, the order takers have 3 specific, there are 3 different types of order takers, and those would be the individuals who basically just, they leave the customer makes the decision, and they basically just finalize the transaction by doing the admin, pushing the buttons on the till, and the business gone. But they have not assisted in the whole sales process. They have just basically concluded the order. Delivery people are the ones that, once a service have been completed, they will obviously deliver the product, ensure that the proper instructions are given on how to use it correctly. And then you've got your outside order takers, which are the salespeople with the products, with the demos, like the Kirby salespeople with the Kirby in the back of their cars, going to people's houses, doing demonstrations to show them how the product works and how it can benefit them. Like in the movie clip that we saw in chapter 1, the person playing the role of Ray Kroc at McDonald's, going from one establishment to the other, trying to sell his mixes, so restaurants can actually produce the milkshakes. The second one, order creators. Who are order creators? Anybody example of an order creator? Anybody out there? You can remember the example I used in the session on Wednesday? Or I think it was yesterday, sorry. it's one of those sales positions that is very well rewarded for the efforts that they put in, but they have to work very hard at it initially, just to establish a good network and a good database and a good relationship with specific suppliers. In your opinion, which representatives or reps are always top of the list when it comes to top earners? What do you need on a daily basis during the pandemic now? What have you, apart from your normal diets, what have you maybe added, and what is necessary, because there's no the quality of food and the nutritional value of food has deteriorated over the last number of decades. What are you taking every morning? Not just for a specific condition, but that you have to take because the food's not giving you the nutrition that you should usually get from it. Anybody?
Vitamins and supplements.
Exactly. Pharmaceutical reps, medicines, supplementation, those products. Thanks, Larissa. We take it on a daily basis. Somebody said to me during the week, and it actually makes a lot of sense. I never thought about it like that, and I did some research after that. Is that the reason why we're getting sick during winter is not because what do people normally say during when we enter into winter? They said, listen, you've got to increase your vitamin C intake because your body's resistance is under pressure. People, one of the reasons why our immune systems are down during the winter is because we're not getting sufficient sunlight, natural sunlight. So we need vitamin D. We need to increase our vitamin D intake and not just our vitamin C intake. Interesting. I've never thought about it that manner, but it actually makes a lot of sense. And once I've done some follow-up research, it actually proves that, you know what, it's actually very true. Anyway, that's your order creators, would be your pharmaceutical reps, going to doctors and dropping off samples and saying, doc, you know what, I know you're not pushing the stuff, you're not selling it because you're a doctor, you're only identifying and then prescribing certain products. And the pharmacist is actually the person who sells the product. But I know that when you write the script and you're prescribing a specific product, that if you as a pharmaceutical rep, as an order creator, can be persuasive enough by listing the features and indicating the advantages and the benefits of a particular product, distinguishing it from another or from a competitor. The likelihood that the doctor is going to prescribe that if it's appropriate for a particular condition is so much greater. So that's a form of an order creator. Your order getters, your third group of or a type of selling, are the people who are actually at the front line. They are the ones who are either selling directly to the customers, that's the salesperson on the floor in the retail environment, dealing directly with a customer at Due South or at Sportsman's Warehouse or Virginia or wherever. You also have people who have the ability to identify new customers because that's just one of their strengths. So you will have somebody in a position as an order getter who knows how to source new prospects, how to find new business because they're creative, and that's their specific sales role that they play. And then you also have obviously salespeople who specifically deal with businesses where a greater number of amount of patience is required because the transaction is going to be more complex transaction. It's going to be a longer process before the decision is made to buy a product. And then in conjunction with that, you also have technical support staff who, when this decision has been made to purchase a particular product, we're talking specifically, and an example I used was that of the X-ray machine. The sale has been made, the item has been delivered, but a technical specialist who also find him or herself in the sales department need to go out and instruct and inform and demonstrate how the machine works so it's used correctly. That's all part of a sales function, and some people are better in some of these areas than others, and therefore they will specialize in one of those order getter roles that I've just identified and shared with you. 4 business philosophies. This is something that you can that we can take back to marketing, business marketing. What was it? Can't recall the code of the product of the module, but it was done in your first semester in your first year. Different philosophies, different management approaches. Anybody? There are 3 major ones or 4 major ones. Some of them are sometimes combined. Anybody have a go at this? Shot in the dark. One of those last grasp opportunities to maybe get a long distance goal just to maybe win the game. Zasha?
Sorry, sir, what did you say?
Marketing orientations, philosophies.
Yeah, what about it?
The 4 ones, the four most important ones that we have identified in this chapter. Can you recall who they are?
No, sir, I wasn't listening now.
And I actually have a lot of sympathy, and I completely understand. It's 2:45 almost 2:45 on a Friday afternoon, and we should have been in our relaxed mode already. The philosophies: selling orientation, production orientation, product orientation, and then marketing, or sometimes also called customer orientation. Different philosophies. Production orientation: we manufacture within our capacity to the maximum of what we can produce. We don't really care what the customer wants. We just of the opinion, we're arrogant enough to be of the opinion that the customer will buy it anyway. Selling orientation or sales orientation, usually when there's a lot of excess stock, probably because of the production orientation, you left some stock and you want to get rid of it. So the sales role becomes very important. You're very aggressive in the sales techniques that you apply to ensure that you get rid of the excess stock, because you've got a better version or an upgraded version or a new product completely replacing the first one. Sales play a very important role in this approach. We have our product orientation, where specifically the quality of the product and specific features are highlighted by the salespeople. And then we have the one that most companies use nowadays. Obviously, it's industry specific. Is the marketing or customer orientation, where we focus on what the customer wants, and then we go out and we make something that will satisfy the customer's needs. So we're not left with any leftover stock, because we produce what the customer wants. Okay, those are the 4 business philosophies that we have identified, and that play a very important role in exactly what specific function sales play in a business. It's directly linked to what the business philosophy is. You're driven by sales, obviously sales would be more important, or the sales function within a business would be more important. Okay, any questions, anybody, before we hit the road for the weekend? I think everybody's waiting for that opportunity to say, oh, you asked a question, and the question is, yes, we can go now. We're finished. We're finished for the week. All good?
Thank you, sir. All good.
It's a pleasure. And like I always say, you're young. You have to enjoy your life. Make good decisions. Enjoy yourself. Be responsible. We'll chat again. So I'm going to check with them before we sign off everybody and stop the recording and finish the session. Our next session is on Monday at 1:20. If I'm good, no, I'm lying. That's another group. Monday at 10 to 3. Yeah, Monday at 10 to 3. The final period on Monday afternoon. We have an online session again, if I'm correct. That's the next time that we'll see each other. Enjoy your weekend, behave yourselves, but also enjoy yourselves. Be responsible and be safe. Thanks, everybody.
Sir.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Corinne.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Pleasure. Thanks, Larissa.